Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of GlideChat. My name is Michael Lombardo, CEO of GlideFast. Today I'm with Brent Llewellyn, AVP of Professional Services at GlideFast. Brent, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. So, Brent, first tell the audience, how long have you been in the ServiceNow space?
Yeah, I actually got my start. I was on an enterprise monitoring team, and my start with ServiceNow was integrating with the platform. So that's when
Wow.
I first started working with it. We spun up a kind of a pseudo event management before event management,
Yeah.
and just really fell in love with the way the platform's set up.
Yeah, I've heard so many of those stories. Like, yeah, we did. We implemented HR before it existed. Event management. That must have been a pretty cool. What release was that? Did you get started in?
Oh man, it would have been 2015 the first time that we built it. And I think
Dublin? Eureka, probably.
Eureka.
Eureka. Yep. I go by releases than years, right? Like I started and we had just upgraded to Aspen. And then when Berlin came out, it was like just a huge change. It just felt so much more modern. But I remember every release. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you and I were talking a little bit about, I think you called it the power of the things you don't know.
Yeah.
In ServiceNow. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's really, and what I knew when I first started, what you knew when you first started,
Yeah.
A lot has changed since then. New features, new functionality, and a lot of things that we used to have to build custom, you don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
And just staying on top of that.
Yeah, and like the other thing I was thinking when we were talking earlier, there's so many different ways to achieve every problem, right, that comes your way. Like every requirement a customer has, immediately they don't know, but our brain starts moving. It's like, all right, do I use a business rule for this, or is it should we workflow? Am I going to build a custom table? Like our brain just starts solutioning, and then it's like, I love when like the light bulb goes off.
Yep.
And it's like, here's the best way. I always look at it as like it's a gift and a curse of ServiceNow that it's so powerful, and there's so many different ways to solve your problem. And it requires creativity and expertise and knowledge. What are some of the ways people get to that point?
So I have a few years back, I was asked to build this functionality for a customer. They wanted to be able to email into the platform and have a service catalog get triggered off of that.
Yeah.
The first thing I did was say, why are you emailing the platform when you have a service portal?
Yep.
After that conversation, we talked about, what was the value that you were looking to achieve? Who was the players that were involved? What are they trying to solve for? And I had done something similar before. So I kind of had this canned solution that I already knew how to build. I go to my whiteboard and I draw out the process, then I start plugging into the platform how I'm going to solve for it. And, it's something that I'd already done. I already had this knowledge with how to solve for this.
Yep.
And, the last thing I did before I was like, okay, let's put some hands to keyboard and start building this out. I go back and look at release notes. And I'm like, oh, wait, now there's a canned solution to submit catalog items via script. I don't have to write this custom script to do it anymore. But you see it often where, just like you said, when you've done this for so long, you've solved for a lot of problems.
Yes.
You have a lot of knowledge, a lot of what was the best solution at the time. And it's so easy to just say, I know how to solve for that.
Yeah.
Go there and do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that critical thinking of, what, I know how to solve it. I know a way to solve it.
It's a way.
Exactly.
It's a way.
It might not be the best way anymore.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I remember when get reference with a callback. Are you familiar with that? Like that was considered best practice. Like
right.
Get reference with a callback was good enough. Hey, don't use a glide record query in a client script, but you can use a get reference with a callback. And I knew Glide Ajax obviously existed, but two scripts, versus one line of code. I was doing the get reference with a callback all day, and then all of a sudden it became no. That's like a red flag. Stay away from that. And like I was like, whoa, just hang on. 1 year ago that was okay. So don't red flag me like I did some awful thing, but yeah, best practices change. solutions in the platform change. And then the other thing I was thinking about when you're talking about that, when you were talking about the problem, right? I was thinking, okay, inbound email action. And what I had found out, just like you, was like, oh, I can parse out an email that if I have these fields. So you're saying there's a better way than an inbound action with like the email parsing and grabbing the fields?
The inbound action is actually still the way that I would go about it. It's
Yeah.
the card API. That didn't
Oh,
exist when I had first done this.
well,
So,
tell me about that, because I don't even know what that is.
it's a put me on the spot here.
I'm putting you on the spot, but like I didn't even know what that was. I would think a manual script, which for me, I'd probably go in the community, try to find like an existing one,
Yeah.
and then just modify that to work the way I want. But so
It-
there's actually an API that'll basically like give you the fields and just give you like kind of the tools to do it more streamlined.
Exactly. You pass it an object, and it parses the object into the catalog. You tell it which catalog item you're trying to submit.
That's
Passes
badass.
the object to populate the variables, and then API to actually submit it.
ServiceNow will keep you humble, man. I mean, like the second you think you know something, or you tell a customer like, "Oh, that can't be done," or "we shouldn't do that," or this, that, almost every single time that I've said that, I've really had to correct myself after finding out.
You said something earlier that was,
Yeah.
I mean, you hit it on the head.
Yeah,
There's so many ways to solve for things in ServiceNow.
yeah,
And I wouldn't even go as far as to say they're all bad, but they might not be best. And that's what
yeah.
the point in this topic is while what you're doing may solve for the problem, the solution that I was going to provide to them would absolutely solve their problem. It would give them the functionality that they needed. It would provide the value that they're looking for. But because it's not the newest functionality, the ServiceNow provided functionality, if I was to move forward with that, I would be immediately introducing technical debt into that customer's instance.
It's not the best solution.
Exactly.
The way that I really like to talk through it is we try to follow a best solution model,
Exactly.
right? Because everyone's, some of the terminology is like use it out of the box, or, don't customize and configure. And those are all wishy-washy terms.
Yeah.
Because we're not using it out of the box. We're doing development. Development has to be done. Things have to get built. You can't just buy it and use it. And customization, you ask 5 different people, you get 5 different answers.
Yep.
And so, like you said, there's a best solution that follows best practices, that avoids bad practices, that's leveraging the best features of the platform, that's scalable, that won't affect upgrades. So that is also a phenomenal process, the best process for the customer as well, because if there's 25 approvals on a workflow, that's not a good, no matter how we architect it, it's not going to be well, right? So,
and part of that is the customer side of it. You have the best solution that you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
And that best solution might not be exactly what the customer is used to in their legacy platform.
Exactly.
Right. But in order for them to get the value that they don't even know they can get yet.
Yes. You have to coach them through that. It's an art form. Yeah. It's an art form on how you deliver that message. Exactly. It's an art form on how you coach the customer. Say, listen, here's the outcome you're looking for. Allow me to solution it. I know you think you understand the best way to do this. Like, and that's the other thing about ServiceNow developers. ServiceNow developers, we can't just be developers, right? We have to be hybrid process experts or process evangelists, and we have to be technical solution experts, because we have to understand both sides. And then we have to be really great at communicating to the customer to say, hey, here's the best way. So, you're not going to have upgrade issues, not going to have challenges in the future. You're leveraging the best features of the platform, and all that, right?
Yeah. And part of that is understanding where they're sitting. I started out on the help desk, so I was a consumer of these.
Me too. Yep.
And having that background makes it kind of makes me be able to relate to them.
It's the
So when
best.
they say, "Hey, that's too many clicks," I know exactly what they're saying. It's too many.
Exactly. Because our job was to save clicks, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I had Notepad. I had, before I had ServiceNow, I had like, every possible incident or the most common incident templates in, outside of the I don't want to call it a platform, the system we were using to log incidents, right? I had all my tools, ready to go because I wanted to solve that call as quickly as possible or get it escalated if I needed to, and then get to the next one.
Yep.
So it's funny you talk about the help desk background. That's what's, I think, allowed me to be a better when I was a ServiceNow developer, because I did help desk for 5 years and it was rapid solutioning. So whether I had to go to Google or our knowledge base or, how do I solve this person's problem as quickly as possible, especially being in the healthcare world where these are doctors, nurses that have to get back to their patients. Right. So it was get them off the phone as quickly as possible and get their problem solved or escalated immediately,
Absolutely. Yeah. When I was on the help desk, the one thing that I hated was those repetitive tasks. So I was at a financial processing company,
Yeah.
and you'd have certain tasks where it was, perform maintenance on an ATM.
Yep.
And it would be, punching the keys, punching keys, punching keys, but it was
I
the
know.
same keys. I punched them every time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I ended up scripting a lot of it because, there's no reason to have that. That's just wasted time.
Yeah.
And
If you have
again,
ServiceNow.
to your point, it's like that made me realize the value in automation. It made me realize the value in saving time, the impact that those clicks have on getting your task done.
The whole business, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times just moving customers, all the time, just moving customers to ServiceNow and getting access to the base functionality before we do any of those parsing emails thing and any of the advanced stuff, just getting them the ability to have that type of head knowledge search and templates and things to just save 1, 2, 3 clicks, that adds up. And,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're adding in 10, 20, 30 phone calls per
Yep.
analyst per day, right? And that's saving a ton of money and helping these organizations. And then forget about virtual agent and service portal. Like the place where I was at where we implemented ServiceNow as a customer, we didn't even get that far while I was there. Virtual agent didn't exist yet. And we didn't even get to really a service portal, but the amount of time we saved was unbelievable just by repetitive clicks. And obviously those people that like to retype every incident over and over, I just copy paste as much as possible,
Yeah. And that goes back to, again, the value of what you don't know. Even outside of the technical aspects of the platform, the process. I came from a financial processing company and I knew their processes.
Yep.
And if I take that as my gospel, then that process isn't going to solve for somebody else's.
Nope.
That the automation that I needed isn't with the automation that somebody else needs. It's
Exactly.
a great starting point. It's a great way to empathize with what they're experiencing. Then I can use that as a springboard and say, okay, I understand, the value that you're looking to achieve. I understand some of the nuances that you're experiencing. Tell me a little bit more about that so that I can really target your solution to provide you the most value.
That's a great point. And let me ask you a question. So how does your brain work where you're about to solution something or build something for a customer? Do you go check the wiki first?
I like that you used the word wiki.
Is it not a thing anymore?
I wish it was still the wiki. We're on docs.
What is it? Community? The community? What is it now?
The docs.
The docs. Damn it. Everyone's gonna roast me out there. All right. So, do you go to the docs? It's the wiki. All right. Well, it's the wiki.
Yep.
It's the wiki. It's the wiki. That's an OG term, I guess. But yeah, the wiki was great.
Yeah.
So how does your brain, like, what's the workflow in your brain of like, okay, if it's below this level, I already know what the best solution is. There's no way they're going to replace Glide Ajax, right? I know this is a Glide Ajax. This requires Glide Ajax, right? Well, how does your brain work to say, I better go check the docs for this, or I better get a second opinion, or I better watch out for the things I don't know in this situation?
I always start with the process. And even when I was teaching other developers how to you got a complex process you're trying to solve for. How do you go through that? I go to a whiteboard. I
Yeah,
love
I
whiteboarding.
love whiteboard.
And in just in plain English, I kind of draw out their process.
Yeah.
And then once I have that drawn out, then I start plugging in, how am I going to solve for this in modular ways? And once I get to the point where I understand like how I'm going to solve for it, then like you said, I have to use tribal knowledge, because I understand a lot of JavaScript, I understand a lot of the functionality that ServiceNow offers.
Yep.
But then I'm using my resources. So I'm going to the community,
Yeah.
like you said. I hit the community a lot. Always look at the dates.
Yeah, dates are important. And shout out Dev Help at GlideFast and Slack.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I'll start there, and I'll get what I think is a good starting point, a good framework put together. And once I have that framework, then I'm going to my peers, and I'm looking at, hey, I use Top a lot. Top's really knows CSM. So I'll go to him and I was like, hey, this is what I'm looking at. This is the problem we're solving for. This is my proposed solution. I don't want to go with him with, hey, how do I solve for this? But I'll go with him with like a proposed.
Just double check with him. Yeah.
And we'll talk about it, and he'll give me some pointers, and we'll move on from there.
Collaboration is key. Nobody can be an expert,
Yep.
And all right, we're running up on time here, Brent.
All right.
Let's leave our audience with one thing. What do you love about being at GlideFast so much? What keeps you here every day? What keeps you excited and motivated?
The thing that really sets GlideFast apart for me, like the peer support. Like I've been in companies where it's siloed or it's competitive. GlideFast, I was talking about Top earlier. Top's an outstanding developer, or an architect, but he's not trying to like prove himself.
Outdo,
Exactly.
right? He's always been
looking
like
to help, and everybody is.
Yeah.
The whole organization is like that. We have that Dev Help channel that you mentioned, and you put a post in there, and you'll get 30 different responses in a matter of minutes.
It's like we're in it together,
Exactly. It's one, like we're one team, and that's great. And then just the leadership.
That's you.
Everybody cares about the individual as people. As a manager, that's the first thing I tell my team when I introduce myself is, as a manager, I care about you as a person first and foremost. If you're not happy, let's figure out what it is. Because the last thing that I want to have happen is, you to be unhappy because of something that was in my control.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole organization feels that same way, and I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, and like that's such the message. Listen, nobody's better than anybody here. We're all on the same team. We're all working for the same mission. We all want to be the best ServiceNow partner out there. We want to provide the best service to our customers, and that's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Make sure you like and subscribe, and check us out on YouTube, Spotify. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Brent.